Putin would like everyone to believe he is winning as 2023 comes to a conclusion. As the year 2023 winds down, Russian President Vladimir Putin is putting on an air of self-assurance in preparation for his re-election in March. One possible way to characterize the Russian presidential election is as a form of political theater. With his most vocal opponent, Alexei Navalny, incarcerated 40 miles north of the Arctic Circle, and a media that is willing to bend over backwards to support Putin, the sitting president of Russia has no real opponents. The Kremlin leader, however, has a lot riding on this spring's vote as he or she stands to retain power until the decade's conclusion. Putin made his candidacy announcement in a very informal manner. In December, after a Heroes of Russia celebration, Putin had an on-camera conversation with a group of servicemen who had fought in Ukraine. The servicemen, unsurprisingly, begged the president to run for office in 2024, representing the people of the Russian-occupied Donetsk region. Artyom Zoga pleaded with them to vote in the next election on behalf of the whole Donbass region and their reunified homelands. The amount of work that needs to be done is immense, after all. You have our full support as president, and ours as a team. Both Russia and us rely on you. Putin's cute response. He acknowledged that he had differing opinions on the matter at various points. However, I see your point. I must now decide. In the upcoming Russian presidential election, I will be a candidate. It was a staged event designed to make Putin look like a beloved president. Also mentioned was Russia's annexation of 4 regions of Ukraine against international law, which Putin claims is a major accomplishment of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Still, Putin will need to embellish the facts if he wants to run as president during a war. The territories in Ukraine that Russia annexed in September 2022 remain under Russian control. Russian lives and equipment have been drained in the land battle, and Russia's Black Sea Fleet has sustained heavy damage. Plus, Russia is now the direct target of the war. Drone strikes from Ukraine have penetrated deep into Russian territory in the past few months. The psychological impact of these strikes has been disconcerting, especially since May, when drones breached the airspace surrounding the Kremlin, even while Kyiv maintains some degree of deniability. However, the most significant fallout from the conflict in Ukraine happened in June, when Yevgeny Prigozhin, a Russian mercenary commander, marched on Moscow in an insurrection sparked by a quarrel with Russia's senior military officials. It appears that Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko mediated an agreement that caused Prigozhin's Wagner paramilitaries to withdraw from the Russian capital. However, Putin's reputation as protector of Russian internal stability took a major hit when pictures emerged of Wagner forces charging almost uncontested toward Moscow and the mercenaries shooting down Russian military planes. Prigozhin succumbed to a still mysterious plane crash in late August, only 2 months after the mutiny. The uprising weakened Putin's administration by casting doubt on the president's seeming invulnerability, even though he had weathered the worst threat to his authority in more than 20 years. According to Russian political analyst Tatiana Stanovaya, many ultra-patriots were baffled by the mercy initially shown toward Prigozhin and interpreted it as a sign of weakness, both of the state and of Putin himself. Post-crash analysis. The Kremlin will surely do all in its power to portray Prigozhin's murder as a revenge killing, even if it was an accidental death, an extremely remote possibility. Putin considers this as his own way of helping to solidify Russia's status as a nation. The Kremlin's public relations team appeared to have covered up the entire Prigozhin scandal by the end of the year. There was no mention of Prigozhin in Putin's lengthy year-end press conference, but the Russian president did admit that the defense ministry should have avoided setbacks involving private military enterprises. Putin once again displayed his mastery of spin in the yearly summary, reassuring everyone that Russia was once again at the forefront while citing facts to back up his claims. According to him, Russia's industrial production is on the rise, and the economy is making a full recovery from a 2.1% decline the year before. He was very proud of the fact that the unemployment rate in the nation had reached a new record low of 2.9%. The U.S. Treasury Department reports that defense spending has been the primary driver of economic growth in Russia, proving that the country's economy has successfully weathered sanctions. It appears that this trend will persist, since Putin has pledged to use any means necessary to carry out his campaign against Ukraine. Another chance for Putin to display self-confidence has presented itself due to the current circumstances on the battlefield in Ukraine. The much-touted counteroffensive by Ukraine accomplished nothing, and the request for over $60 billion in aid from the Biden administration to Ukraine has been blocked in Congress due to demands from Republicans on immigration and border security. The most recent EU aid package for Ukraine was vetoed by Hungary. Putin is obviously banking on the fact that support for Ukraine would wane so he can convince both his electorate and the rest of the world that he is winning. During his press conference, Putin reiterated the same vague formula that he used to rationalize the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 when asked when peace in Ukraine will be achieved. When we achieve our goals, which you have mentioned, there will be peace, he remarked. We should go back to these objectives now, they have not evolved. We first proposed denazification, demilitarization, and Ukraine's neutral status, and I'd want to remind you of it. Russian armed forces unleashed the biggest missile and drone assault on Ukrainian cities since the start of the full-scale invasion on Friday, reminding the world what denazification means in practice. But there might be a side consequence to the constant bombing of Ukrainian citizens. President Ursula von der Leyen of the European Commission, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak of the United Kingdom, and France have all demanded that Ukraine continue to receive international backing in the aftermath of the most recent wave of strikes. The creativity of Ukraine's partners in fulfilling those promises will be tested in 2024.